right, there they are, arm in arm, hand in hand. Senator Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Senator Sanders has just endorsed Hillary Clinton for the presidency of the United States. She went on to say how much more enjoyable this election will be now that we are on the same side. Here to break down the significance of today's endorsement is CBSN political contributor Nomiki Konst and Democratic strategist Lis Smith. So, guys, first impressions. Let me just tell me what you feel right off the bat.
Sure. Well, I think that this was a moment that a lot of angsty Democrats would have liked to have seen a month ago. But since then, we've seen a lot of Senator Sanders supporters line up behind Secretary Clinton. But this is what's important about this, is I think going into the convention, it sets up a great contrast with the Republicans, because there is such chaos on the Republican side. We see half of the Republican senators aren't even planning to go to the convention. So it's nice to see this sign of show of unity before we head into the Democratic convention.
All right, but there are some, Nomi, who said, look, this could have happened, as you just pointed out a couple of weeks earlier, but there were some real differences, and Senator Sanders pointed that out, and Hillary Clinton did as well, that there were some differences between the two campaigns, even though they are united in the sense that they want to take down Donald Trump. Those differences were really sharp.
Really sharp differences. We just came out of the DNC's platform meetings in Orlando. And let me tell you, the differences in that room were stark, and they were purely around financial interests. So I find it interesting that they decided to do this today and not at the convention, especially since Bernie Sanders has said continuously that he's going to take this to the convention. We just found out today that there will be no floor fight, there will be no floor vote, and I think Liz is absolutely correct. This is about how we are going to conduct ourselves on the floor of the convention as delegates, how we will unify. I think it's going to be very tough. None of the surrogates from the Bernie Sanders campaign have been out there supporting Hillary Clinton, and they have not been reached out to by Hillary Clinton. I think the duty for Hillary Clinton right now, the secretary has to go out there and try to speak to the Sanders supporters on issues, connect with them, get down to their level. Symbolism doesn't work. It is not working.
But I do think that we're seeing her speak to Sanders supporters. You know, she adopted Senator Sanders' positions, not completely, but a bit.
You smile like
but a bit. But she moved to the left on, by saying she supports free college tuition for people making under $125,000 a year, and also families, yes, and also moving to the left on health care. So she has done that, and I think that's what's meaningful. Look, I appreciate the passion of all the Sanders supporters who fought at the Democratic platform meetings, but ultimately the Democratic platform is a symbolic document. And, you know, I've worked on 15 campaigns, I've worked for party committees, and never once have I heard a candidate, you know, whether it was a president I've worked for or governor, congressperson, cite the Democratic platform. So what's more important in terms of concessions is that Senator Sanders got Secretary Clinton to articulate more progressive positions on things like college affordability and health care. And
is that going to be enough, then, Nomi, to gather those Senator Sanders supporters to come out and vote for Hillary Clinton? Because you do have two candidates with very, very high unfavorables, and it almost feels as if for some Sanders supporters, you're going to sort of kick and scream all the way to the ballot box. And some may say, you know what? Can't stand either of them, not going to vote.
I mean, the recent polls that have come out have said that 85% of Sanders supporters are going to be voting for Hillary Clinton. Whether that's true, I really don't know. I think that the vibe, the energy is pretty low right now. There's a lot of angst. There's a lot of frustration, understandably. I have a lot of frustration right now because we just kicked butt at the platform committee hearings, and to see him endorsed today is a little, a little hard.
But you're not going to vote for Donald Trump.
But I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump. And I think what people, Sanders supporters really need to keep in mind here is that movements are very powerful on elected officials and those in power. And no matter what Hillary is campaigning on or what the platform says, obviously politicians are going to change their mind, but it is up to the organized movements. It's up to the supporters to go out there and push them one way. What we did succeed on in the platform committee meetings, which I do think is important when you have a divided ticket, because it does signify what happens at the convention. You know, there's no floor fight now. When you're not debating the issues of the platform, there's no floor fight at the convention. So that shows a party in unity just symbolically. But what I think is very important is that these movement leaders come together, continue to push Hillary Clinton the way they did on the platform. The areas of success that we reached on the platform committee were all based on organized movements, from the environmental movement to the nurses and the healthcare movements, $15 minimum wage movement. I mean, that was all orchestrated and organized by union leaders and activists, and that's how this party moves forward.
I mean, but that's true. But it's a little bit of a Pyrrhic victory. I mean, so much effort went into fighting over the platform, and that really, it's non-binding, it's symbolic. And what really matters is, what is Hillary Clinton going to go out there and champion? What are Senate candidates going to go out there and champion? What are Congress people going to go out there and champion? So I agree a little bit with Nomi that, you know, what's important is getting people who are involved in the movement, pushing elected officials. I just don't see the platform as the most effective way to do that.
But she has moved, as you pointed out, and you as well, Nomi, that she did move a little bit more to the left than where she was. I mean, there are a lot of people that consider Hillary Clinton, for example, a very hawkish candidate for the presidency as a Democrat, right? That's been a knock on Democrats historically, that they're not strong enough on defense. Hillary Clinton is considered a hawk in some circles. She's also considered to be very conservative economically. But because of Sanders and those 13 million votes, which let's just talk a little bit about how when Senator Sanders was, he delivered the remarks first, how he reinforced that he got 13 million votes, that he got, you know, hundreds of delegates on his side. And then at the end he said, but, you know, she had a few more, and she had the superdelegates, so I guess she's the nominee.
You know, I think he set a record for use of the words "me" and "I" in an endorsement.
But it was important, I think, right, for people to understand how we got here.
Yes, and it's important for him to shepherd, you know, his supporters into her corner. We were talking about this before, that she can't just expect the automatic support of Sanders supporters. So I think it's smart for him to talk about what they were able to achieve. And there's no doubt that the Hillary Clinton we see today is very different from the Hillary Clinton that announced for president, you know, over a year ago. She's changed her position on the most important issues, whether it's immigration, income inequality, higher education, and I could go down the list, but I don't have enough time.
Right.
But I think Nomi would agree that she is a different candidate today, and in a large part because of this robust primary.
And that's what he wanted. From day one, when Bernie Sanders decided he was running for president, no one knew, I don't even think he knew what was going to happen.
Right.
He just wanted to influence the Democratic Party, bring it back to the party that was like FDR and not the Wall Street Party, and I think he's really accomplished that, and now it's in the hands of those who have been supporting him. He was the vehicle. Now we have to take the vehicle and drive the vehicle and influence whoever's the president. I believe it'll be easier to influence Hillary Clinton than Donald Trump, and that is why I will never vote for Donald Trump. I still think that Hillary Clinton needs to earn my vote, and she needs to earn a lot of other Sanders supporters' votes by coming out to us and connecting with us on these issues. There's one issue, and one issue alone, that I think could woo a lot of Sanders supporters, and that's TPP. This is where the platform, I think, was very important. She encouraged her supporters to not support the amendment that would basically say that we are against the TPP. A lot of union leaders got up there and expressed they were against, but when it came to the language, it was not specific, it was not detailed, and that is where the Republicans, in contrast, are eliminating their support of TPP and their platform, and it's those, you know, blue-collar Rust Belt state workers that Hillary really needs to woo over.
But again, blue-collar Rust Belt state voters don't really know what the Democratic platform is. But they do hear Hillary Clinton out there saying that she's opposed to the TPP as it currently stands. And yes, it's after giving 40 speeches in favor of it as Secretary of State and calling it the gold standard. So she's not the most credible on it, but she is out there saying in her own words that she does not support the TPP.
Because of Senator Sanders.
Because a lot of, yes, and I do not dispute that, but I don't think that it's the platform that really matters here. It matters that she says it and that other Democrats join her in saying that.
It would have been if it was at the convention. If he had not endorsed her today, and he had endorsed her at the convention, there would have been a convention fight over this issue. So that's where the platform matters. It doesn't matter symbolically to candidates, but it matters when you have two contingencies, when you have a contested convention and they're voting on the issues where the minority got a report that allows them to vote on those issues on the floor. Now, there's none of that. No more minority reports.
No, would you agree, though, that and I'm asking this because I want our viewers to understand how you guys feel about this, that the Democrats, with Senator Sanders endorsing Hillary Clinton today, are a much more unified party. They're going to be able to focus now all of their attention on Donald Trump and the Republicans, or do you think that there's still some fracturing and there's still some fences that need to be mended?
I think it's going to take time.
So you think the latter?
I think that ultimately we'll be unified enough. Don't forget the Republican convention's coming up. A lot of attention is going to be played on the Republicans and how horrible they are, at least from the Democratic perspective. And then a week later, we're going to move into the Democratic convention. And I'm hoping that Bernie can talk to his delegates and say, this is how we are going to push Hillary on these issues and make sure that this fight is not over. He's not going to be in the race, but I think that the fight continues. internally in the Democratic Party?
I mean, I think it's, in some ways, it's more an issue of enthusiasm rather than unity. We do have a very unified party, especially when you compare it to the Republicans. And frankly, it's more unified than the Democratic Party was after the 2008 election. Now, all that being said, I think the biggest issue...
That's actually a good point, Liz. But before you, I don't want to interrupt you, but that's a really interesting point because we forget that the battle between Hillary Clinton and then candidate Obama was a very, very divisive battle.
Yes.
And where we were after President Obama came into office, now to his credit, he brought her in and brought some of those other people into the party, but it was really rough going for a while.
And then you remember you had those Pumas for a while?
That's right, the Pumas. I forgot about that.
Right. But I think the question then is enthusiasm, and I think one way that you can see them using Sanders and deploying him is sending him out to college towns like Madison, Wisconsin, where he will have the juice with these college kids that she won't.
One thing to differ on is the establishment was split on Obama and Hillary. The establishment was all in for Hillary. There's a lot of new voters, independent voters, young voters, disaffected voters who feel like they've been left out of this conversation. So I think that the fractions are different this time around, but the party itself, the institutional party itself, is unified, as it always has been behind Hillary.
All right, so now Hillary Clinton made a comment that perhaps Donald Trump would be watching her remarks and the endorsement of Senator Sanders. And then during the remarks, we received a statement from Donald Trump's campaign. It says, in part, today, Bernie Sanders will be endorsing one of the most pro-war, pro-Wall Street, pro-offshoring candidates in the history of the Democratic Party. The title of Donald Trump's statement is, Bernie is now officially part of a rigged system.
Well, I think after this election, we need to really ban the term rigged system because everyone, it's being overused and it's become kind of a meaningless term. And I think that Trump's overtures to Sanders supporters will not bear any fruit because ultimately Trump is a candidate who wants to unravel Dodd-Frank. He's a candidate who believes wages are too high. He's a candidate that believes we need huge tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires. So I think that it's a cynical attempt and will be unsuccessful on his part.
All right, so Trump has, as we know, he loves Twitter and he has been tweeting, and I'm pulling up his tweets right now, and there's one that came out just about 2 hours ago, and it says, I am somewhat surprised that Bernie Sanders was not true to himself and his supporters. They are not happy that he is selling out. Nomi, he's talking about you.
I literally just got a text from someone as we're sitting here saying, wow, how about those Twitter followers of yours that are calling you a sellout?
Some people, you were saying earlier that people were actually saying that you were a Hillary Clinton plant. And I mean, when you hear, when you see a tweet like that from Donald Trump, it almost feels as if he's goading. He's sort of trying to goad you into saying, can't believe it's Hillary.
Listen, politics is a rough sport. Senator Sanders is a ranking member on several committees in the Senate. He has to do things sometimes that really are going to upset his supporters to make sure that he has those positions. I believe. I don't know what the deal was that they cut, if they cut a deal, but he has a very valuable position in the Senate. He's a very valuable member of the progressive movement who's been fighting for these issues. The supporters, on the other hand, they need time. And I hope that Hillary Clinton can reach out to them and connect with them. But does that mean that supporting a Democratic candidate against a fascist means you're a sellout? I don't think so. I think it means that you're trying to preserve your Democratic Party.
Yeah, the lines between the two parties have never been starker. I think that that's the reality now, especially with Trump as a standard bearer for the Republican Party. His supporters, they love him. They think that he's going to make America great again. That's what he talks about. And in a way, when you listen to him say, look, I'm using the system, the establishment system, that has enriched me. I think it's wrong that I was able to make millions of dollars off debt, and I will fix that if I'm president. But the people that have supported Sanders throughout this entire period are not going to see any alignment with those values that Donald Trump is talking about.
He's neither economically progressive or socially progressive. So I can't see where, he's unconventional, like Bernie Sanders was.
He
challenged the status quo, but it's not the same status quo. Bernie Sanders challenged the Democratic Party to be a more progressive party. Donald Trump is basically trying to take apart the Republican Party for his own ego.
Exactly. It's all about him. It's not about change. He wants to get rid of the rigged system to help himself, not to help millions of Americans who have been left behind.
All right, this has been a fascinating discussion. Thank you guys for being here with us. It's pretty historic because this was a historic race between these two candidates, and I'm really, really happy that you guys were here to watch it with me. Nomiki Konst and Konst. Why did I say that?
Like Constitution.
Exactly. I like that. Nomiki Konst and Lis Smith. Thank you both for joining us. We appreciate it.